Hello everybody, welcome back. Sport Federation TV. We of course carry on talking about sport in the province, sport in the Western Cape, across the 6 districts. And of course, as you know, one of the big topics, and you'll remember we of course had Barry Hendricks, the president of SASCOC, on the show with us a few weeks ago when he was telling us about Team South Africa and the preparation for the Olympics. And of course, the whole world is talking about the Olympics. That is just around the corner. And we've got the Secretary General of Cycling South Africa on the line with us. He is no stranger to Sport Federation TV. Elton Davids. Elton, welcome back. How are things there with you?
JP, dear, it's been a while, sir. I'm all good, thanks yourself.
Thanks, Elton. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's great to see you again. We haven't seen you physically in studio. In fact, we've almost seen you not physically now for almost 18 months. Been very difficult times, Elton. It's so yeah. In a nutshell, let me quickly ask you: how have you been? How have you been coping over the last 18 months?
I've been busy. I've moved away from sports council activities because I've now, as you alluded to in your introduction, the Secretary General of Cycling South Africa from 1 Jan, which is a full-time job, which means I look after and deal with all 9 provinces cycling across the country administratively. So all the different commissions I've got to deal with and be involved with every different commission that is involved in cycling and the administration around it. So it's been a bit of a busy period for the last 6 months.
Well, let me then start that ball rolling by saying congratulations on your appointment as the Secretary General for Cycling South Africa. It's a massive responsibility and a huge obligation, and of course we're obviously convinced that Cycling South Africa is in very good hands there. But it does mean for you it's a lot of administration work, so to speak, especially considering now the preparation for the Olympics.
Yeah, JP, I mean, the federation's growing, and from that perspective, there's lots of hard work administratively that we're doing to get things back into shape and to take things forward. And COVID has created an opportunity for us to re-look our model and what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and then from there build strategically. We're busy working on a sponsorship matrix and a whole range of other things. And then the Olympics, sure. I've been honored to be chosen as the coach manager to oversee all the cycling for South Africa going to the Olympics. So it's a huge responsibility. We've got road cyclists, mountain bike, BMX, and track riders going, each with their own manager, and I'm doubling up as the BMX manager as well. So it's a lot of admin around that.
So Elton, just talk us a little bit through that. I mean, from a general public perspective, and for people like myself, or maybe not totally like myself, but for generally from most of the people in the public, you see announcements in the newspaper about the fact that the Olympics are on. Of course, most people have been waiting for confirmation that is actually happening. We've had that on now, but most people will just read the headlines in the newspaper. But most likely behind the scenes, SASCOC, who is preparing Team South Africa, is communicating with you guys on a regular basis as to the preparation and the expectations of what you need to do to go to Tokyo. Walk us a little bit through of the planning and preparation to get to Tokyo.
So JP, the riders need to qualify through a process, and each sport has got an international body. In our case, it's the UCI, and linked to the UCI, there's qualification criteria that gets set between the UCI and the International Olympic Committee to determine how many riders you can send to the Olympics as the first port of call, and then riders compete for a spot based on their qualification and their ranking within South Africa. So from a road perspective, road cycling, we've got 3 males going, Nicholas Flamini and Stefan de Bot, who are both riding in the Tour de France. Interestingly, both from Cape Town. And then we've got Gary Blem, who's a mechanic on the Tour de France. He'll also be going. And then we've got Ryan Gibbons, who's a rider who's not riding the Tour de France, but riding in Italy currently. His team is riding Tour de France. And then we've got Ashley Pasio-Moorman, on the ladies' perspective, she and Carla, the two of them are representing South Africa. They've got a management team of Ian Futam and Carl Pasio. So their responsibility is to look after the well-being of that team.
Also from the Western Cape, Ian.
Yes, Ian's also from the Western Cape, correct. And then from a From a mountain bike perspective, we've got another two Capetonians, Alan Hatherley and Candace Law, both based in Cape Town. The mechanic and manager, JP Jacobs, not Nadia, is also from the Western Cape. So the Western Cape is featuring quite strongly. And then track, we've got David Marais, we've got Charlene Dupree, and we've got Johan Spies, who is also from Cape Town, started track cycling here. I represent the track cycling component along with the manager, Bridget Malson, who's based in the UK. So, and then we've got Alex Limburg, who's the BMX guy, who's out of Gauteng. So that's the contingent from a cycling perspective. And that's, I've got to oversee all of them and their logistics to get them there and back safely.
Well, I think that was going to be one of my next question before I head more towards the SASCOC type of the conversation. But does that mean that every athlete, I mean, you mentioned the word mechanics, which is obviously you're on a mechanical device. Does this mean every athlete has to basically pack up their bicycles and take it with them to Tokyo?
Yeah, so what happens is each rider is allocated spots for 2 bicycles, as an example. So Ashley will take 2, Ryan will take 2, Stefan will take 2, the track guys take 2, the track mechanic, which I forgot to mention, also from Cape Town, Musa Klaassen. So every component has a mechanic, and that mechanic's responsibility is to ensure that the bikes are assembled correctly on the other side and during preparation. Because what happens with this Olympics is the riders and everybody arrives 7 days prior to competition. 2 days for self-quarantine. You have a PCR test every morning. You're allowed to go and train, come back, go to the dining hall, and that's it for the 2 days. The remaining 4 days prior to competition, you go out and you train and you come back. But you can roam freely within the village. And then on competition day, the day before, mechanics have to check the bikes. They get a massage. Race day, finish racing, have a massage, pack up their bikes, and they leave effectively within 2 days. That's how tight the schedule is for this Olympics. Usually, as you all know, prior to the Olympics, people would come in, the whole contingent would come, do the open ceremony, go and watch whatever event is post your event, and leave together. Yeah. This one, due to COVID and everything else, everybody's have strict timelines, when to come in, when to leave. So you never have, like
there's no holiday.
We never have everybody together. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you now is, have the athletes been thinking about it? I mean, you've been involved in the sports space for a long time. The difference between the Olympics that we've seen in the years gone by and the Olympics this time around, it sounds to me like there's a lot of minimizing, a lot of limiting activities and space and movement, and that possibly the days gone by of a bit of tourism and seeing the sights don't seem to be on the cards.
There's none of that. Straight, you get shuttled straight from the airport into the Olympic Village, into competition venue, training venue, shuttled out, and you leave. Just because of COVID, in this instance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very tight. Everybody's compelled to wear a mask all the time. When we travel, you got to wear. They give you a basket of masks, and every 2 hours you got to change your mask and dispose of it. So it's very tight, it's stringent, because we're looking after the riders and everybody else's safety through the entire process.
Elton, what you're telling me really is a set of information that most of the public won't be aware of, and you're really giving me a sort of a snapshot of a behind the scenes of what it means to prepare for the Olympics. Is this the type of activity that you as a code manager, you're busy dealing with on a daily basis, the preparation? Well, folks, we're just seem to be losing the connection there with Elton, but we'll take an ad break. And when we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking to Elton Davis, General Secretary for Cycling South Africa, as they, of course, prepare for the upcoming Olympics in Tokyo. Back in a sec.